Hey guys, George from Diamond Yard Sports Cards coming at you here on Hobby Palooza 2024. I've got two great friends, veterans of Hobby Palooza, Don's Field of Dreams Cards and Chuck Northside Guy. We're going to be doing a rundown of our favorite cards from the 30s to the 70s. We're going to go in reverse, and I'm really glad you could join us, and I'm looking forward to this. It should be a great time. So here's a little something from Signatures for Soldiers, and the guys are going to run a video now, so please join us afterward. Thank you.
The official charity of Hobby Palooza 2024 is Signatures for Soldiers. Since 2014, it has been their mission to help serve those who served our nation when it called on them and who now need our help. They work in cooperation with other charitable organizations to assist veterans with disabilities, homeless veterans, and existing members of the armed forces and their families who need extra support. Their efforts have been documented in Forbes and Beckett magazines. They will be operating a booth at the National, which is their biggest fundraising event of the year, as it includes a charity auction with the support of Heritage Auction House. For more information, visit signaturesforsoldiers.com. To donate to Signatures for Soldiers for our Hobby Palooza event, please use PayPal Goods and Services to send your money. Last year, Mike's PayPal account was frozen by too many people using friends and family. I will happily donate the PayPal P myself to make your donation whole. Send it to jekoffma@yahoo.com. That was jekoffma@yahoo.com. For every $10 donated, you will have an entry to one of the pieces of artwork created by Scott of Reindeer Studios or Eric Forleaf that they will be making live on their Hobby Palooza show. Additionally, at Fort Collectors have 50 exclusive Quad Auto channel cards available to the first 50 people who donate and request one. In the notes section with your PayPal payment, at a minimum, please include your YouTube handle. If you want to get one of the autographed channel cards, also include your mailing address. Every dollar collected will be presented by check to Signatures for Soldiers at the National in Cleveland. Thank you for supporting this worthy cause.
So guys, hey, this is George from Diamond Yard Sports Cards. Thank you for joining us. We're going to do a rapid run through of our favorite cards, some of our favorite cards from the 70s on down to the 30s. So if you're into vintage, this is the place for you. We have two veterans of Hobby Palooza here. Don, how are you? Chuck, how are you?
Great. Good to be here.
Got the band back together.
That's right.
Exactly. I got Chuck the wordsmith, and I've got Don the mayor. This is going to be great. So we're going to talk first of all. Chuck sent some cards, and Don sent me some cards. So we're going to do a slideshow because what we're going to do here is we're going to look at some cards because this is Hobby Palooza, and that's what we do. So thank you guys for tuning in. So Theo, let's kick it off here. So these are some of Chuck's favorite cards he sent me. Yeah. What do you say, Chuck?
Well, I'll tell you, I got my first pack of cards in 1974 when my mom bought my sister and I each a pack of 1974 Topps at a Ben Franklin store in a suburb south of Chicago. And that whetted my appetite. My first set that I was buying out of packs was 1975 Topps, and I was getting that as birthday gifts. Well, I was hooked, and it was a full-blown childhood hobby. In 1977, I purchased a full set, which I thought was a really big deal. I had saved my pennies, and at the back of Baseball Digest was an advertisement for this dealer named Renata Galasso in Brooklyn. And I saved my money for, I think it was $7.99 or $8.99 plus $1.95 postage, shipping, and handling. And I just played with those cards again and again. So these cards, when I look at them, I remember the hours of enjoyment. I remember studying the backs, the statistics, the little cartoon commercials. And of course, these were the heroes of the day. And Mark Bidrich in that summer of 1976, of course, my dad is a Tigers fan. I was born in a suburb of in Flint, Michigan, actually. And so I remember watching the antics of Mark Bidrich, and it was just so charming. And of course, that I think right there that you see on is one of his preeminent cards. And of course, Thurman Munson. I was at Comiskey watching the Yankees game right after he tragically passed away in the late 70s there. I think it was 79. And of course, Pete Rose was held up as an example to me by my father as, Charlie Hustle. So you always got to hustle. in life, in baseball, and in the classroom. Just try your hardest. And so I think that really means to me. And of course, Guidry put up that amazing season. What was it, 78, when he was 25-3. And that was actually the second season, or one of two seasons, that was just, historic. And so that's what those cards mean to me. Those are the kind of memories they summon, both personal and in the hobby and outside of the hobby.
Well, speaking of Louisiana Lightning,
yeah,
we can go to the next card.
Yeah. Look at that.
Yeah, I think it's hilarious that we both picked a Guidry card out of all the cards from the 70s. And it was the only non-Hall of Famer I picked on here. And you just called him Louisiana Lightning, but they also call him Gator.
Yeah.
And love this card. And I picked it because I read his book about how he helped Yogi Berra out in spring training and would take him to games and out to eat every day, and just got a lot of respect for how great Guidry treated him. Not only was he a great player, but, he'd pick Yogi up at the airport every year and take him to his hotel, and just a great player from my youth. We all collected in the 70s, and, thought maybe he could have been a Hall of Famer. I don't think he's a Hall of Famer, but he had some Hall of Fame years.
Absolutely. Sure. And speaking of Hall of Famers, Mike, Sports History Collector, popped up a comment about Thurman Munson. I don't see how he isn't in the Hall of Fame. When I collect cards like these cards, Pete Rose, in my mind, is a Hall of Famer. Thurman Munson, in my mind, is a Hall of Famer. Buster Posey's numbers and Thurman Munson's numbers are like exactly the same. And so I have no idea why everybody's saying Posey's a first ballot Hall of Famer and Munson's still right out there. But anyway, Ron, I was cracking up because you both picked Guidry, and I thought that was indicative of the prime time when you were collecting.
Right.
Well, it's a great image too, and I think it's interesting. Two different Topps cards have the similar kind of image. It's just a great action pose for a pitcher.
Absolutely. You knew this one was going to pop up. Don, go ahead, take it away.
Okay, so like Chuck said about starting collecting, so 76 was the first year I started collecting, and remember buying these packs at the store. And again, my mother was very instrumental in getting me cards, and there's a whole story I've said a million times how I got her as a kid, and the woman's house where I was at bought me a pack of these cards, and I've been hooked ever since. But this is my favorite card from that set. It looks like someone just scored. Bench is pissed. You can see the dust. Someone slid in. He doesn't have the ball. He's looking down at, maybe the third baseman, like, I can't believe you let that ball go through your legs. You overthrew me, or whatever. But it's just, it just screams Johnny Bench to me.
Someone's going to get read the riot act when they get into the dugout.
Right.
Well, call me old-fashioned, but this example also has 4 sharp corners, extremely well-centered. It's just a very, very fine baseball card.
And a tough set, too, because that black background on 76 is just difficult. Like Nolan Ryan, same thing. He's got a black background. It's like, lots of snow and stuff like that, just from a card collecting perspective.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you said these are actually all our cards that we posted on here. These aren't.
Yeah, absolutely. These are not, we're not pulling stuff off the internet. I did think about putting a Bake McBride in here, but
Oscar Gamble.
Oscar Gamble.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Nice. Theo, fire it up if you could. These are some 70s cards that I like that I put on there, and we're going to go through the 70s quite a bit. We got a few more here, but I love that Rod Carew, the All-Star banner I loved, but that Carew, it's like one of the first cards where he's actually like hitting. So often it's got card pictures of his face or, front, sideways, but I'm like, there's the batting stance. And it just, in my mind, he's getting ready to just rip a double, off the left field wall. I just thought that was so cool. And I'm a little younger than you guys, not too much, but I can remember opening packs of 79s and looking for all those All-Star banners, because I didn't really know who the good players were. And they gave me direction on like, oh, this guy's really good. Right. Unfortunately, Don Money was also an All-Star in 79, so I didn't realize that he wasn't George Brett.
Right.
But and then there's the George Brett rookie. I'll let you talk about that that's a mini, but I'll let you talk about that when yours comes up here, Chuck. But I had to put some Hostess in there for Mangini and all the Hostess guys. I just remember going to, with my mom and seeing a box of Twinkies and trying to convince my mom to buy me an entire box of Twinkies because I get the panel.
Let's talk about that for a second, because I think I'm really glad you popped that in there, because, my mother, it was a treat to get a box of the Hostess products, and I had to be a good boy and kind of earn it. So there was that kind of extra inducement, and it wasn't like I would just go to the drugstore and pick up, a box of Twinkies or whatever. And these Hostess cards don't get enough attention, shockingly so, because they were actually a really big deal back in the era. And I didn't draw a distinction between Topps cards and Hostess. They were all baseball cards to me. And I don't know why in all the years I've been, on YouTube, that I haven't seen more of this, of these Hostess cards. And, shame on me for not collecting some of them as well. It's just a good wake-up call to see it here.
Yeah,
you said something that I've never thought about, because I felt the same way. I didn't see a difference between these and Topps.
Right.
And I never thought about that until you just said it. And thinking back, it was like, yeah, they were just my baseball cards. That's a very good point you bring up.
Yeah. Not to mention you could be snacking on those wonderful treats.
Boxes of color.
Yeah, I was stuffing those Twinkies down my face because I'm like, I need to get to the store so I can get another box. Yeah. More cards.
Right.
There you go.
But also, what was I going to say? These Hostess cards, they also they were printed a little bit later in the season. So I remember the first card I can remember with Carew in an Angels hat when he got traded to the Angels was a Hostess card. It was a '79 Hostess, and he had an airbrushed Angels hat on him.
Right.
And I was scrambling to try to get that because it was the first Angels card.
That's great to see. Oh, there you go.
There you go, Chuck.
I love this set. It's right up there. It's in my pantheon with 1933 Goudey. This one, because I'm a rank sentimentalist, it has to be there. The minis, I really like the minis. So I included, and the Burt Blyleven is just a classic with the gum. And that was a big deal back in the era to have the bubble gum chewing, the 76 Kurt Bavacqua bubble gum blowing contest card. And, the reality is the 1975 Topps Brett card was one of the first cards I had to get when I got back in the hobby in 18. And, I could afford it now. And I just think this example I got, I just love this card. I mean, I can never get enough just looking at it. And, the Bob Gibson, simply because that's kind of a typical color scheme in the set, the red and yellow. And I just think, I think if not the last card of Gibson, it's right almost there. So you have all the stats of a career, and I think that's neat. So I just love this set. I have this set in a binder, and I keep upgrading incessantly, trying to find the perfect set. And, one with no bubbles. There's a lot of print bubbles on this set. And so I just obsess about it, and I just wish I'd be done already in my mind and just enjoy it purely without looking to upgrade forever. But that's what I go on with this. But that Brett card, absolutely in love. I mean, it's a deal stopper for me. Top 5 card in my collection for me.
Really. And the backs too are so they're far more colorful than like the other previous packs. You know what I mean? They look good. And Brett's the only one here who didn't have any sideburns.
There you go.
So we're moving here. So let's look at the next series of cards. I did some early 70s here.
Yeah.
And I love sideways cards. I know there's some people who don't like sideways cards, but I love the 60 set, 56, Don. I know you love 55.
I like the sideways set.
I just feel like sideways cards really just give you a better perspective. And this Seaver, the 74 Seaver, to me is just one of the best cards of the 70s, just showing how he's just driving through with, Tom Terrific driving through. And, these sideways cards went along in 73 too. Like Stargell has a really nice 73 sideways card. And then the bench, Don, you've mentioned this, how bench is just running his ass off. And like, what did you say about the dudes in the dugout?
I forget. What did I say?
You said like they're just hanging out.
Oh yeah,
not even moving. Like this dude does this all the time.
Plus, we're not going to catch his ass. We hope he runs in here and gets hurt.
Yeah, he's and then the Clemente, I chose this Clemente because I just love the idea. He's tossing up the ball. What is he thinking? What's going to happen? And the colors, just the golden colors on the blue, to me is just a great looking card.
Those are 3 classic cards from the 70s. I love all 3 of those cards.
Mm-hmm.
So we have coming up here, you, Don.
Yeah, so this is not only one of my favorite cards from the 70s, but one of my favorite Clemente cards of all time. Just a beautiful card. And I had to show my 7 because Theo and John have their little beef about their grade on their 71 Clemente. So throw that one in there. But just, that's the uniform from the 71 World Series. It's the last uniform he wore. Just screams 70s. You got Three River Stadium in the background. The black, especially this example to get into 7 is tough.
Mm-hmm.
Don, do you collect this set, or it's just?
No, this is just for my Clemente collection.
Roger. Okay. Got it. Yeah, it's a bold set. Oh, now you're talking. All right.
Yeah, we're gonna have some football. There's some basketball. There's some other kind of cards you're gonna see here. Not just baseball, but I knew Chuck, with you being in Chicago.
Oh, these are my cards. I mean, Walter Payton, right up there. And
Payton.
Well, when you're playing in the schoolyard at recess, you would choose up sides, and then you would have to say, what player you were. And the number 1 player for us in these games, boyhood games, were, who's going to be Peyton. And it would actually be fights about it. And anyway, how could you not love Walter Payton if you were a boy in the late 70s? And just right up there. So these cards take me right back, these exact cards. And that 6, the 79 6 is actually from the Pack Poll back in the day. I upgraded for my 77 and 78 because they're the ones I have here at home are in much loved condition, but boy, just love it.
I was looking at this too, and I actually pulled out the 78 Peyton myself and then saw what you'd sent me. And I remember I went to a friend's house, a friend of a friend, and he had a bunch of baseball cards. And this is probably like 1980, 81. And he had massive cards from his uncle's collection. He had Wilt Chamberlains and all kinds of stuff. And he had like 5 78 Walter Paytons. And we rode our bikes over there in the desert along the canal. And again, I'm like 9 years old. And he said, I loved Walter Payton like you did. I live in Chicago, but he was on CBS running the football every Sunday. And I was trying to get back from church, because I wanted to watch Payton play. And he's like, here, take one of these Walter Paytons. And I took that Walter Payton. It was like in mint condition in my mind. And I rode down the canal with it with my friends home. And during the pandemic, I got that my 78 Walter Payton graded as well. And it's still graded a 5, so that's fine. Wow. It didn't matter if it graded a -6. It was still the Payton that I rode down the canal with, like you're talking about the 79 pulled from a pack.
Yeah, I had all 3 of those as a kid. I collected football cards out of packs one of those times too.
Yeah.
Just he's an all pro, and here we go again, with 70s basketball.
Yeah. And the 78 and 79 are pack polled again. I was all in on sports cards and football and basketball. Not as much as baseball, but boy, I'm sure glad I had these. And, my boys are really into NBA and, LeBron and Kobe and, Jordan. They just can't envision how dominant a Dr. J was and how exciting he was and how different the kind of game he played, before Bird, before Magic and all that. And Dr. J, now, Don, will you refresh my memory? Was he in The Fish That Saved Pittsburgh? Remember that?
Yep.
Yeah. So, he was just cool and the definition of cool and those moves. So anyway, I don't need to tell anybody that, but I just, that's what I'm thinking when I look at these cards. And of course, Kareem, you have to have a Kareem.
I love that 75 tops. Like, I don't know if that's Dan Issel right there. He's just dominated. Right there.
Yeah.
Totally getting worked.
Yep.
Man, that's great. Yeah. Dr. J was my guy too. Here's some that I put together. The Maravich, I just love that 71 top set. It's just so 70s, and I know they have their jerseys backwards because the Players Association dispute, but that peach just got such great color. I put Bill Walton in there because, obviously it's a tribute to Bill Walton, but and he's a first team All-Star here in 78. Kareem was second team. So that tells you they just came off winning that championship against Dr. J, painfully. And then Kareem, 72 Kareem. I just think this is like, I call it Game of Death Kareem. Like from the Bruce Lee movie, like he looks like the way he did in Game of Death. And just, you can see he's just so dominating. And then of course the 73 Dr. J. These vintage cards in high grades used to not be very expensive at all. But anyway, so I love the Dr. J because you can see that ABA ball just spinning in the foreground.
Yep.
Spinning it before he probably takes a free throw. Just love these cards like you do, Chuck, and you do, Don.
Yeah.
So we're moving on to the 60s now. Got out of the 70s. It took a little while, but certainly fun.
Absolutely. So I love both of these cards better than their rookie cards. I'm not a fan of the dual cards, and I just think these are two classic cards. Bench got the Topps All-Star Rookie Trophy on it. You got the young Nolan with the Mets. And I think they go really well together for some reason. I don't know why, but I just always, on my display cases, I have these two cards next to each other. And
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more with everything you just said. And they're nice examples too. They look really good.
Yeah, they're fives, but they're centered pretty well. The corner's pretty sharp.
Dylan would be happy with the centering.
Yeah, he would.
So let me, if I may, seeing the Nolan Ryan prompts me to kind of ask this question. So, obviously with Willie Mays passing earlier this week, there was an end of an era. It was like the patriarch of baseball has died. And I've been wondering and talking with some of my buddies, who steps into those shoes? Not that anyone can, truly, but is it, who's the patriarch? Is it Sandy Koufax that steps in?
It's Sandy Koufax.
And so, and Sandy's up there in years. But let's say, who's coming up behind Sandy? And I was in the discussion, I was thinking the next tranche might be, Nolan Ryan and Reggie.
Bench.
And then kind of a Cal Ripken. And then, in a couple of decades when they get older, Junior and Jeter, perhaps. I don't know. That's how I was kind of thinking, there's always, there's just a whole era that's just gone.
Yeah.
And Koufax, I think, is the last in that kind of pantheon.
That's what I felt like with Mays passing. I felt the same way
Yeah. So do you guys have any other ideas of who might fill those roles of living legends?
Let's move on to some other cards and we can talk about it further.
Mookie, can you go back real quick? I know we're short on time, or will be. Never mind. I never noticed right there that the baseball in his mitt, even though he's shown himself throwing. I've looked at that card a million times and never noticed that until Mookie just pointed it out. Okay, that was it.
I did too. I looked at that comment as well. So when I said Koufax, this is a couple of my favorite cards for different reasons. Frankly, I think that Retirado is his best card. I think it's just a cool image. Left arm of God. And truth be told, I had him sign it this February. I sent it off and had him sign it, and then I got it slabbed. There aren't many signed by him, but that's one of my favorite cards. The Rose, it's a Venny Rose signed by Rose, but the 64 Topps Rose, I remember I sent off to Kit Young back in the day, and I got a 64 Rose for I think it was $17, and it was a lot of money for me. Anyway, but that Rose is kind of symbolic of that. And then the Frank Robinson, that's one of the first vintage cards I ever owned. Bought it at a card shop, comic book shop. Found it underneath the table. Looked at his back. I didn't really even know who he was. I looked at his statistics and I said, "Wow, this guy wrecks stuff." Mm-hmm. So, my father-in-law said he used to say he was so happy as a Phillies fan when Robinson was traded to the Orioles because he just crushed them as a Red.
Great cards.
So, yeah, and there we go. You're going to see some Willie Mays stuff as we move forward here, obviously, as a tribute to
this, and as a tribute to Willie Mays. One of my favorite collections, as all you guys know. Just like you said, an icon of baseball. Like Brooks Robinson passed not too long ago, and he was great, but he wasn't Willie Mays or Hank Aaron or Jackie. That's just the top of the top. And I want to throw a few Willie Mays cards in here.
And the stand-ups, I mean, that's just a great image. It's a great image. Beautiful.
Yep. Yeah, I don't have much in the way of the 60s. Here are my 60s cards and my Willie from the 60s. Yeah, I need to fill out this 60s era better.
Well, that Gibson, I mean, that's the year, right? That's the year
Yeah.
that he
Yeah.
nominated, and they had to change the mound.
Yeah.
And then that Mays, that's an 8, right, Chuck?
Yeah. Yeah, I have it right here. I've been looking at my Mays cards this week. And
You wanna send that over? It's fine.
I'm glad I got-
Beautiful cards, Mantle, the MVP year. They have all those MVPs, right, from 61, where it's just tracks them all. So many great cards there. So we're gonna move on to more, I think, here. These are some that I put together.
Autograph. Nice.
I love the 60 set. That's why when you put that Maze in there, Chuck, I said I just got to put a couple 60s cards.
Yeah.
But I bought that Hank a long time ago. I actually recently got it slabbed by PSA, and then the Maze I picked up at a show a couple of years ago. But I felt like since I've been alive and since you guys have been alive, Hank Aaron, Willie Mays, they've been around and we've known about them, and they've just these guys, are the inner circle Hall of Famers, when you're making all-time lineup, at least your lineup from the second half of the century for sure. And you're like, these guys are always there. So, that was just, two of my favorite cards. I mean, and not just because they're signed, but just two of my favorite cards.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to be moving on to the 50s now. And so we got another Willie.
Again, I saw someone in the comments said, I bet Don's going to put some Musial cards. And I bumped the 54 Red Heart, which is one of my favorites, just to pay tribute to Willie. I love this card, and I love the Hank Aaron card as well, with the green background, the blue background. Two of my favorite cards from that set, and one of my favorite Willie cards. And again, just had to add him in there because he's Willie Mays.
Yeah, and some of these, 58 is a highly underrated set, and John and I have talked about this. That All-Star set is just the first All-Star set. It's such a great set. There's so many all-time Hall of Famers. You could take those All-Star teams and put them up against any other teams in baseball history, right? Just a golden age of baseball, and with that being the first All-Star set, it's really it's something that set, you just hang your hat on that. But this Willie Mays card, like you're talking about, Don, he's happy, right? It's a great card. Right. He has some cards where he looks like, he looks like somebody just kicked his dog. but this is like one that's really, really nice image, and the color scheme's fantastic.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I got both these during COVID. These are my COVID cards. I sold a 1989 Upper Deck Griffey for $5,000 something, $200, I think, and cash actually. So the guy came to my house, paid me in cash. That was interesting.
Well done.
And then I turned around and overpaid for these cards. So I checked VCP this week, and for the first time, the Jackie now has surpassed my purchase price. So I don't feel as bad, but I'm way over with Ted. Love the cards. How can you not? These are just classic 50s cards.
Well, Don, your favorite set, right? Or one of your favorites?
One of my favorite. I love the 56.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are great examples. I mean, and I know that a lot of people in the hobby talk about it, like Vince talks about it, the .5s. Love the .5s.
Yeah.
I just think, you get you get a great card, and maybe you're not paying $7 price, but you usually get a really well-centered, good copy.
Yeah.
Or it has good registration. I mean, these copies are fantastic, Chuck.
Yeah.
I don't care what you paid. You did a good job.
Oh, there you go. There's Stan.
So two of my favorites from the 50s, and there's my Stan. You all knew I'd have to have him in here somewhere. So I've loved this Hank Aaron card forever. I don't know why, and it's not because it's reversed, but just a young Hank. I love the Indian on the shoulder there. Again, Musial just sitting in the dugout, happy. Just it's a good representation of how Musial was from what I've read and heard. So again, great cards.
Well, also that 53 Bowman Musial there. I mean, look at it's just a good showcase of the set, the deep, rich colors and topography used in that set.
Right.
I always looked at his uniform, Aaron's uniform, and thought to myself, man, that looks hot. Like just thick wool, like really like a baseball uniform. You know,
Stan's the same way. He's got that big wool jersey on right there.
Yeah, let me show you something. This is from the 2017 Topps Update set. Theo, if you could blow this up, this is the Aaron. They corrected it. They finally corrected it, right?
Cool.
The right-handed version. So I pulled that from a pack, and I'm like, wait a minute, that's a 57 card.
Yeah.
But anyway, I had to pull that out because you put that up there, Don. So I decided to put some of these cards in there. I was thinking you might. I noticed you didn't put the red heart, so I was like, I'm going to throw a red heart in here, and that red heart is just a beautiful card. That Mantle. I'm not as big of a Mantle collector as I am a Jackie, Hank, and Willie collector, but I bought that at the National a couple years ago, and it's just a great card and great image. I think it's. They were talking on your podcast with Eric and about Mantle and talking about with John and Scott, and a lot of people were in the comments talking about how the Red Heart Mantle is his best card, and I certainly think it's up there. I mean, I think it's just a beautiful card, but
that is great.
And I wanted to put the 58 All-Star set. I picked up that Musial for a song back in the day, but you can see it's a blue flip, but man, just that All-Star set's so cool. And the Yogi and the Hank Aaron are cards that I bought when I was a kid. And that's why I put them in there. The Hank Aaron was my 8th grade graduation present from my folks. I picked it out. I had to call around town to find an Aaron rookie. And I held on to it for years. And the Yogi I bought at my local card shop when I was a kid and just held on to him and got them graded later. But regardless of the grades, they just mean a lot to me because they're some of the first vintage cards I collected when I was growing up.
They're great looking cards.
Yeah.
Yeah. And John said that's the first Topps Stan Musial. Absolutely correct. Yeah. So you hit some 54s here that are beautiful, Chuck.
Yeah. I keep threatening to build out the full set of 54s. I love these cards, and I still had the Mantle and the 53 Bowman color, and then I'm done there. And this might be where I go next. I got a lot of the big boys there. I don't have the Hank Aaron, unfortunately, so that'll be a big one. But what I do have, I'm really grateful. And here again is a maze, a beautiful maze. I mean, I like the yellow background for all three that are shown here. And what can I say? Just great cards.
Yeah, that 70s show, John says, I got a belt for my 8th grade graduation. He's cracking me up.
Yeah.
So I always, focus on, like Dylan, I focus on centering. And so for the longest time, it took me, because I didn't open these in packs, it took me a while to figure out the bottom centering on these cards. Left to right, you can tell. But, how OC is it? How high is the name? So you just kind of look at the bottom. And I came to the conclusion that the cards need to be a little bit lower, right? Like, there's like less white on the bottom typically in the higher graded examples, but it took me a while to figure that out when I got back in the hobby.
Yep.
Which Williams do you guys like better, the yellow or the orange?
I like the yellow.
I do too.
I don't know. I want to like the yellow better, but the orange is so cool.
Yeah, they're both great.
Yeah, I like his swing in the orange better. He's just like smashing it, but it's amazing. He bookends the set, right? So it's Ted Williams. You're going to see more Ted Williams coming up here, and boy, I just don't understand why people don't. I don't know. It seems like his status in the hobby has diminished a little bit over time, but he's non-steroid era. The greatest hitters of all time. He's in the top 3. He's in the conversation.
Yep. Oh boy, look at that.
So I could not avoid putting in some Burke Ross cards because, it's funny that set was frowned on for a long time. But, I got into the Burke Ross cards because I couldn't afford 52 Topps cards.
Mhm.
So I started buying up these Burke Ross cards, and then I realized, man, they've got more. There's a Ted Williams in there. There's a Joe DiMaggio in there. There's a lot of cards in there that are not in the 52 Topps set. But now they've gotten out of hand, and I've been trying to pick up a Mays, but that ship has probably sailed. But for me, I love the Jackie because it's a great pose in the field. In the field, he's got so many cards where he's hitting or his face, but he's in the field there, and you can see the ballpark in the background, which I really, really like. And then the Mays, 53 Mays, short print, a beautiful card. I just like the artist's renderings. I don't know. To me, I like the 53 card better than 51 or 52. Maybe I'm in the minority there. And the last card, the Feller, to me, that 50 Bowman Feller is like classic baseball. Like when I look at that image, I think that's baseball. Like, I mean, the 50 Bowman set's fantastic, but that's the dominating pitcher of the time, warming up before the game. And all these things go through my mind when I look at that Feller card.
I almost put that card into you, George, when you were asking for photos. Love that card and agree with the Mays and that Jackie too. Those are just 3 really great cards.
Yeah, and the background on the Ted, it's so blue, Yeah. It's just neat set to me, and I pick them up whenever I can. So we got another one coming up. We got a 50 Bowman extravaganza coming up here.
Yeah. I just think that those are a couple that I sent over just because I think they're wonderful. Of course, that was an era of Dodgers, and I'm not going to collect the whole set, but I'm going to build this out, the Dodgers team cards. And here are 2 I sent over.
Look at your grades, Chuck. Those are amazing.
Yeah.
I knew.
Yeah, it's when you get a high grade 50 Bowman card. Like a guy came up to me at a show and he got some grade. It is Sam Jethro in like a 7.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking at it and I'm like, this looks like it came out of a pack. And and with you at that Morgan and that Hermansky 8.5, I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah. I just like them. There's so many side projects I want to take on, but all in due time.
I love the story that the story that Vince Scully tells about Gene Hermansky. Have you ever heard this?
No.
So Scully tells the story how Gene Hermansky's like a young player, kind of stupid, just really young and dumb. And it's, Jackie had been threatened that when he went to Cincinnati, he would be shot. And when he went on the field, and this is, an active, real threat. And Hermansky pipes up in the back of the locker room when he was really young. He says something like, and Scully relays this, that if we all wear the number 42, they won't know who to shoot at. So it's a great story. You can look it up on YouTube. But anyway, from the master Scully.
Yeah. Oh boy, there you go.
So George kindly let me put this on because I know this is one of George's favorite cards, and the history behind this card has a lot to do with George. George was pretty instrumental in giving me advice when I purchased this card. It's been a few years now, and I got a really good price on it. And when the eBay sale ended, literally like 10 seconds later, I get a text from George, please tell me you won that card or I'm going to kill you, or something to that effect, because it was such a great deal. And one of my top 5 cards in my collection. And it presents really well for the grade too. The centering on it, just no creases in it, just classic Jackie.
Love it.
I think that you bought this card right when the SGC train was starting to take off. Like you got a good deal on it because people started to realize, well, at that point maybe they didn't, but then later on realized, man, SGC really does a fair and good job on grading cards. And that card is just a great copy, man. I was you gotta get this card. You're gonna kill me if you don't. It's just so bold, and it's just the centering's great. But I mean, the image itself, is taken in his MVP season in '49 by Barney Stein, the legendary photographer, and just you can see the girders in the background of the stadium. It's just so cool,
Yeah.
So. Don, you're taking over now.
Yeah, apparently. So now we're in the 40s. I almost didn't put the Satchel Paige in here because I've shown it so many freaking times, but it's my favorite card in my whole collection. You said you can only have one card. I love that satchel. And the Bowman Musial, got it to National, bought it off of, who did I buy it off of? I'm drawing a blank on his name. Tiger fan. Oh my gosh. I apologize. I can't think of his name right now. Oh well. But it was funny because I had commented on how nice it was, and he said, "Well, I bought another one, and I'm selling this JT." That's it.
Yeah, Triple Crown.
Triple Crown 24, and we were in line getting hot dogs, and he pulled it out, and he offered me a great deal on it, and Mike Moynihan was there, and he's like, "That's a steal." And, didn't expect to get it in a 4, but
Nice. Yeah, it's
the oldest Musial I have. I don't have any of his rookie cards.
the 49 Bowman set, and you're going to see a few more here. I mean, it's just, I remember when Dave first came, Blue Jacket 66 first came on YouTube, and he was showing off his 49 Bowman set and the different derivations. And I'm just watching this, just like my jaw is on the ground. And I'm like, dude, this is just unbelievable. And he knows so much about it. But I think it's just, I don't know I mean, Leaf 48, 49 Leaf is a fantastic set too. It's like right in that wheelhouse with those sets. They're both absolutely awesome. We got our comic relief, man. We got Theo's the DJ and
Oh my God.
and John's comic relief. These are some of my cards. I threw in well, let's talk about 49 Bowman again. Yeah, the Jackie Robinson, the Larry Doby, very underrated card and a tough card to get. The colors are always kind of off on the background, the mustard colored background, but it's just another, stellar, Hall of Famer rookie card. There's no doubt that that's the rookie card. I mean, he's got a 48, 49 Leaf card too. It's extremely difficult. And it frankly doesn't look as nice. I mean, I personally like this Jackie and this Doby better than the Leaf versions, even though the Leaf versions are quite expensive. And then the DiMaggio is my first Leaf card I bought way, way back. And I just, love the green. Couldn't agree more, Mookie. And then the Ray Robinson, these Leaf boxing cards are just a deal. There's so many great boxers, and I know boxing doesn't have its place like it used to, but man, Ray Robinson is, I mean, it's like when you watch Ray Robinson, I have La Lamada too, but when you watch Ray Robinson, like on YouTube videos, it's like they took a dude from like 2050 and like dropped him in 1948 to box these guys. He's just on a different level.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, those are 4 of my absolute favorite cards.
Those are beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So this is one of my all-time favorite looking cards.
Yeah.
It's Bobby Doerr. I have just the artwork in this card. I'm not my favorite player by any means, but I do love the set. And this card just speaks to me. It feels like it's a painting on a wall that should be framed. The creativity they did back then. And I know these are taken from photographs, but just this card just is one of my favorites.
Yeah, I knew Rick Acosta would be on there because he completed his 41 set. The 41 play ball set, and then 40 play ball is great and 39 play ball is great, but 41 play ball, I agree with Dr. Beckett. He talks about how this is like one of the top 3 sets in the hobby. And I just think the images are fantastic. And, Chuck, you do a lot of T206s, the backgrounds too. They just, like the T206s, the backgrounds themselves are just beautiful, right?
Yeah, on some of them, yeah, it's a beautiful card. I don't know why this hasn't registered with me before. This is just, I'm staring at it.
It's on a field somewhere.
Yeah,
classic 40s.
Yeah,
and then some of them it's like they just took a guy and put him in a pastoral scene. Like on 33 Gaudi and stuff like that. It could be like in your backyard or like down the road in the field. They're like, it's just so cool. And that, Bobby's pose there is really awesome.
Yeah.
So I was going to show off some of these 41 play balls too. I had the same feeling that you did, Don. Just the Art Deco like nature and the colors and the DiMaggio. I bought the Williams a long time ago, and then I was finally able to pair it with the DiMaggio. But I got this book when I was a kid. My grandfather gave me this Burt Randolph Sugar, the boxing historian, these Dover reprints books, and then it had those 2 cards in it. I was just absolutely hooked. I was like, my God, these are so cool. Of course, at the time, I didn't think that I'd be looking. I didn't think I'd be in my 50s, like so excited to have these and even have them. But I just think that 41 play ball can't be beat. And then the Stan Musial rookie there, Don, it's a full image, right? He's kneeling with a bat, right?
Right.
And then I just, I know people like the 48, 49 Leaf, but I like that image. He's a young Stan Musial. There's not really any print issues with these cards as much as they are the Leaf cards. So I like that Musial. I know black and white cards, some people aren't into them, but I really enjoy them. And, there's just, again, no dispute that that's his rookie card. I guess you could get a Propagandist Montiel, but I don't have the wallet for that one. I know James loves that card. And then the blue tint, Jackie Robinson, another set that was not really thought about too much, but because it's Robinson's first year, it's kind of gotten, or his second year actually, it's gotten more traction. But, again, that image is a really good image. It's not kind of washed out or anything like that. And those were strip cards that, you can see part of the other strips on the left and the right of the card. I don't have the courage to snap it out and trim them off. I'm not going to do that. But, it's another way to collect Jackie Robinson and all those players of that time. So these are some cards. We're getting into the 30s now, and I'm going to talk about a few of the cards. I got that Hank Greenberg from B-Roth. He knew I was looking for one, and after the National a couple of years ago, he contacted me. But like the Gehrig, that's in that set, that marine green background, and Don, like on yours with the Satchel Paige,
Right.
It's so cool. That's such a cool color to put on the back of the card, and Greenberg's, it's his rookie card. He's coming out of the, just kind of popping out of the diamond behind him. And then the Ted Williams was a card I added a long time ago at a show. But I mean, again, I just think that that's an iconic card in the hobby.
Yep.
And I knew I was going to have to. Well, I didn't have to, but if I found the right one, I was going to get into it. This one was a little bit higher grade than I wanted, so I just did everything I could with the seller to trade him whatever I could to get it from him. But I in a way, I wish the Ted Williams card looked more like the 41 play ball. Maybe we should have Scott from Reindeer do a 41 play ball version of this.
There you go.
But anyway, so those are, again, two of my favorite cards.
So I don't have a lot of pre-war anymore. I've sold some of it off. And so the story behind this Dizzy Dean, I had it up for sale. I had it with me in Cleveland a couple of months ago at the show at Strongsville. And Mike Moynihan was looking at some of the cards I was selling. He's like, "You can't sell this." He remembered, which amazed me, 2-3 years ago in Chicago, we were both looking for this card at the National, and we both picked it up. And I kind of agreed with him after that. I'm like, yeah, I'm not getting rid of this card. This card's just awesome, and it's got a great story. And for Mike to even remember that, I was like, that's a great card. And then the Rabbit Randville, if you don't know who Lionel Carter is, he was one of the early pioneers of card collecting. And go on YouTube, there's stories, his collection. He was one of the first people to really keep them in nice shape. And wanted to get a card from his collection. And Theo, I don't know if you can pull this up. I have another one from his collection.
Oh, yeah.
For Gibson, if you see there, the Lionel Carter collection. So just wanted to add something that was in his collection to mine. The Rabbit Moranville was probably $100 maybe at the time. And I bought it more because of the provenance of it, who owned it.
Is SGC the only ones who give it the Lionel Carter collection?
I see him on PSA.
You did?
PSA. I guess if people switch them over, because I've seen people try selling them in SGC slabs, say, "No, these are from the Lionel Carter collection," but it's not written on there. I was like, I'm not so sure about that. So I was always afraid of getting that reholdered. I guess they would write that on the new, if PSA does it.
Okay.
I figured I'd just leave it as it is because, like on the Gibson, it's the old flip as well. And I guess that's when they originally did them.
It's funny with Dizzy Dean. I've been reading a book recently about Rickwood Field, ironically, before the whole, I was reading it like a month ago. And there's a story about Rickwood Field with the game that went on, and everything recently, a couple of days ago in the tribute to Mays. But there was a game where young Dizzy Dean was pitching against, I think it was Burley Grimes. And it was like a national, I'm not sure, like the Southern All-Star game or something like that. Yeah. And they pitched like almost complete games. They were tied, and eventually Dean lost the game. But the excitement around the game was the fact that, Dizzy Dean was such a showman, and just like a showman like they had never seen. And he would talk all kinds of trash, and he would back it up. And, I wasn't around to watch him be a broadcaster, but I heard that he was an outstanding broadcaster as well for many, many years. But and that Dean looked, the field right there just looks like somebody mowed the grass up, with chopped it up. It's such a great card.
Man must have been on the grounds crew that day.
Wow.
So these are some cards I put together. The one on the right, the Yankees one, I always wanted to get that one. And this is my first COVID purchase. When COVID hit, I saw this guy, this Gaudy Yankees up there, and it was like in a 5.5. And the 36 Gaudy or 35 Gaudy set is really kind of underrated in my mind. I think it's really cool. And you got 3 Hall of Famers on there. And, just a really beautiful Yankees card. And, they have other ones with Fox and Greenberg with the different teams. And then the Gehrigs, I had the Gaudy Gehrig, and I just think it's just a beautiful looking, with the marine green. That was the one I wanted to get. But then I was at a show and I stumbled upon this Worldwide Gum in the 92. And just the Worldwide Gum, for some reason, really just pops. So anyway, just also, you guys are seeing it there. Please donate to Signatures for Soldiers. I just wanted to mention that. But anyway, so these are the 2 Gehrigs. I paired them together. They happen to be the same grade. And it got me into the Worldwide Gum and looking more for those because they really, the card stock is almost better. Like the print is really sharp on them, on all of them. So.
Yeah, I pulled 4 from my 33 Gaudy set. I've said a lot on my video on my channel about this set and my love for it. And the Pie Trainer on the upper right is my one card, all-time favorite. It just screams 1933 Gaudy. The color mixture, the banner on the bottom, pose, and so that's my vote. But just love these cards. I talk too much probably about them. I love them too much. They're just great. So great because they've really shot up in the last few years. I don't know if I could do it again, but I'm grateful I got in and got it almost done then.
So we're going to wrap this up. That's great. Pie Trainer, easiest pie, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Did
the hour go that fast? My goodness.
Guys, this is what I got on YouTube. I love just showing cards and seeing other people's cards. And I know how great your collections are, but sometimes you forget when you haven't seen them in a while. And it was great seeing what you guys have.
It was.
It was
awesome. Thank you, Don. Thanks for sharing. Thank you, Chuck.
Yeah,
this is a lot of fun. Just want to look at cards, man. That's what we want to do. I mean, we're talking, but try to put these slideshows together, and I can't do it without these 2 guys. Can't do it without my DJ Theo flipping through them for us. So I really appreciate you guys, all you guys in the community tuning in, and this was a lot of fun. So maybe we'll get together next year and do another version of this.
Love to.
I'm in.
Yep.
Okay. Don't forget, guys, to again donate to Signatures for Soldiers, a great cause, and the charity for Hobby Palooza. And I hope to see you guys at the National, all of you.
All right.
That's great.
Take care. Thanks, George. Thanks, Don.